Welcome to American Fight Stories with DeBar. We're challenging all Americans to be better Americans by showcasing American fight stories. And I do my best to try to bring you some of the best fighters that I know to help teach us all about the American fights, the fights that are important. And I'm very honored and privileged to be able to interview Miss Lindsay Massie, and I have never met her in person, but I feel like I know her.
That's right. We have a connection.
We have a lot of different connections.
Yeah, we do.
But why do you think I asked you to be on this show today?
You know, I think
there's a lot of different things.
Yes, there's probably a lot, and probably we should do another one just to be able to get through everything. But my biggest thing is that I have dealt and am currently, I guess you could say, dealing with one of the very most common cancers that women get in America. And of course, it's one of those things where we, focus a lot on this being a female problem. But of course, it also can occur in males, not as frequently, but that's breast cancer.
Right.
And
so to even back it up, we're talking about breast cancer. Probably a lot of this is going to be focused on breast cancer and the fight that you've had. But before that, you're a mother of how many children?
I have two little ones.
Two small children.
Yes.
A husband.
That's right.
A career.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
And what do you do? Who was Lindsay Massie before breast cancer? Introduce me to her.
Lindsay Massie before breast cancer. Lindsay Massie before breast cancer. Well, first of all, I have a story that God has just led the way, just completely led the way. My whole dream in life was to be a physical therapist, and I wanted to be a physical therapist more than anything.
And what is a physical therapist for somebody that's young or doesn't know what is a physical therapist?
So a physical therapist is highly trained on body mechanics and being able to, help with the muscles getting stronger and different movements and things like that we can educate people on in order to better do activities and to strengthen areas of the body. We definitely don't always want to rush to surgery when we have a pain. And so oftentimes we can go to physical therapists and we can work on strengthening certain areas of the body that can kind of tone up that area to really help with decreasing a lot of that pain and avoiding stuff like
your dream,
surgery.
Before breast cancer was to be a physical therapist.
That's right.
Be a strong woman, mother, wife, member of the community that helped other people recapture their own dreams.
Absolutely.
And how far along were you? Were you a physical therapist? Did you get there?
Yes, I did get there.
Well,
I did.
Thank the Lord.
I did get there.
Answered prayer, many tests, passed the test.
Well, I will say this. I went through PT school at Arkansas State University, and I loved it.
Arkansas,
that's right. Well,
Red Wolves.
Oh, we are the Red Wolves.
Okay.
But yes, I had such a wonderful experience at Arkansas State. I knew that I had gotten into physical therapy school because the Lord had paved that way for me. It was nothing that I did for myself. It was what the Lord did.
Amen.
And so I was so excited to be able to graduate. And in fact, I graduated in May of 2013. Seems like so long ago. 2013. And I was actually getting married in that August. And so anyway, of course, as many healthcare providers have to do, they have to take the board exams. Dreaded board exams. And so, you never really know how to prepare for those things. So I prepared the best way that I knew how and went in to that testing facility, took that test, walked out thinking, all right, I don't know how I did, but I think I did okay.
Yeah.
And I found out that I failed.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, we have a common thread.
Really?
I've failed a lot.
Yes.
You know what? I've failed a lot, and I continue to fight.
Absolutely.
And I come back.
Yeah.
I may be a failure, but I'm no quitter.
That's right. That's right.
So I'm gonna ring the bell for myself.
There you go. There you go.
We got something now.
We do.
That's good training.
Yeah.
When you can fail, but we don't give up. We fight through.
That's
That's
right.
what
We keep
Americans
going.
do.
That's right.
Okay.
So I said, okay, you know what? We're not going to do the same thing that we did last time as far as studying. We're going to do something different. So I decided that I was going to get a online program that I paid for and got the book and CD and went through, a bunch of tests and passed all those practice tests and things. I said, I'm ready the second time around. Went and took it. About a week later, I guess, I failed again. I failed again.
So what were you feeling at the time? Does it matter what you're feeling?
Well, I can tell you,
it was the feelings.
Yeah, it was quite an emotional roller coaster, because at this point, it was not just so much about my emotions; it was also my spiritual walk with the Lord. I was like, you led me to physical therapy school. Now, what is happening? Right. And so I was getting a little angry with the Lord. I was not very happy. And so anyway, I took it again, and I did not pass.
Okay.
And so that was 3 times. And so I have a wonderful, wonderful family that supported me through all this. And I was very...
Family of faith?
Family of incredible faith. Yes, family of incredible faith. And they said, you know what? We're going to get through this, and we are going...
I like that.
As a family.
This is not just your battle. It's not a I can, it's a we can.
That's right. That's right.
We can.
When one person struggles through something, in my family, we all go to battle together.
Ooh.
Yes. And so I'm very, very thankful for that. And so my family found a in-person kind of like basically review course in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
And
that's another bell ringing place.
Yes, absolutely.
I think it looks like that.
Yeah, we rang the bell this many times in any other podcast.
Okay, all right.
So I went to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I stayed for a couple of weeks and sat in a room just relearning everything that I had learned in 3 years. And I thought, surely this is it. I mean, part of their business promotion was guaranteed to pass, Oh. Yeah. Ouch. Well, came back and I failed again.
Okay.
And so you can imagine that, I basically thought life was over, because at this point, I was married, did not have any kids or anything. My husband and I didn't have kids until much later on in our marriage. But, just at that beginning of a marriage, there should be a lot of happy times and all this bliss and stuff. And it just...
And you've got pressure.
Right. It was really hard. And one thing that I will say is I was, when I right before I graduated, I had done a clinical at a site in Hernando. And so I had a really good experience there. And I was asked to be their next physical therapist. And so obviously, when I was not passing my tests, I will say that an incredible blessing of mine was that they did not just say, or he did not just say, see you later.
Yeah.
They kept me on. And of course, it was very difficult because I had all the knowledge that he did, but I couldn't put my name to anything, you know?
Those credentials mean something,
they do mean
don't
something.
they? Yes.
And so, you know, you can imagine that, you know, I really did kind of feel like this was a whole waste of money for family. This was a waste of time. This was, you know, just a big old blot of, you know, my life.
You didn't think you'd be talking about this on a podcast in the future.
I know, but
inspiring other people to fight through.
That's right.
And if I can share just one thing.
Absolutely.
I have failed the Arkansas bar. I'm a native Arkansan, went to school in Arkansas, have a nursing degree from Arkansas, passed the nursing first time.
There you go.
First time.
Yeah.
And then I went to law school. I had to be kind of happy with C's.
Right.
Just to get through.
Yeah.
But
what do they say? See you later?
Yeah.
Right?
See, yeah. But I took the bar exam, and honestly, I don't know how many times I failed it. Sometimes I failed it, and sometimes I had family illness to deal with, and I failed it.
Yeah.
Sitting in a ICU room, sitting in a Lebanon, or sitting wherever I was sitting with a sick child. But I took the test. I'd rather be a failure than a quitter.
That's right.
Okay?
That's right.
So I have no idea how many times I failed the bar. I think I failed it more than you failed this test. But I learned so much.
Amen to that.
I learned so much from failing than I ever did being pridefully successful.
I tell you. Of course.
It hurts, but I'm telling you, it hurts.
It does.
I've cried those tears, and then I had to, scrape myself up off the pavement and fight again.
Right. That's what you have to keep doing.
Yeah. And I was already a lawyer, just like you.
Right.
You had the dream.
Yeah.
You're already,
it was one of those things where I was just completely devastated. I was really just devastated. And so I was basically, I had a doctorate of physical therapy,
which is a big degree.
But I was working as a tech, and so it was, it gets your pride a little bit, and anyway, it was very tough. It was a tough journey.
You're tougher.
That's right. And I can tell you that I think the biggest blow to me during all of that was I truly felt like the Lord had left me.
Oh,
I really did. My spiritual walk was a little bit non-existent, I guess, maybe portraying the Christian lifestyle, but not really feeling it on the inside. And because I was mad at God.
There's a lot of great people in the Bible who felt the same way. And we take such incredible courage from those passages where other great Christian leaders struggled with, where are you, God?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, I worked as a physical therapy tech for quite some time.
God bless them.
And then I woke up one morning and I said, you know what? I have a doctorate of physical therapy. And I don't know what that means, but it's got to mean something.
That's right.
And so I remembered my time as a little girl and growing up through school, and even when I was in physical therapy school. And I remember playing teacher quite a bit. In fact, a lot of my classmates from physical therapy school would come over to my townhouse and we would, write on the dry erase board in my office area, and we would, think about ways to remember things, and we would kind of have a little school right there. And I said, I wonder, because I know anatomy and physiology.
Yes.
So maybe I could teach it. And so I didn't really know where to start, honestly. But lo and behold, I found that Concord Career College in South Haven, Mississippi, was looking for a night A&P teacher.
Wow.
And I said, I don't...
They're not looking for an A&P teacher. They're looking for Miss Massie. That's
right.
who they're looking for.
That's right. And so I went, and I remember telling the dean my story, just like I told you. And I said, so here I am, a rehab tech by day, and possibly, with your blessing, I could be a teacher by night.
Yes.
And she said, I don't care if you didn't pass the test or not.
Aww.
She said, we need an A&P teacher, and you are qualified. And I remember Miss Nathan Guy, and she really opened up a huge door for me because she gave me an opportunity. And so, as I said, I would be at the clinic during the day, and then at night I would go to South Haven a couple of days a week. And then that actually opened up to teaching a couple of nights at Clark Tower in Memphis that's kind of where their main campus is, and in this area. So I was teaching students up there A&P at night. And finally I said, you know what? I remember my time as a ranger at Northwest Mississippi Community College.
Rangers.
Go
Yes.
Rangers.
So those that don't know about Northwest Community College, is that right?
That's right. That's
okay,
right.
Northwest Community College is kind of like a satellite campus for Ole Miss. Is that right?
No, they're actually two separate entities. But
if you go to school at Northwest, then you can transfer those hours.
You can.
Yes.
You can.
2 and 2, I think they call it, or
2 plus
something.
2. We call it now kind of a path 4.
Okay.
So we have a couple of different campuses.
Okay.
Our main campus for Northwest is in Senatobia, Mississippi.
Okay.
And we have a few other bigger campuses. Senatobia is the main biggest campus, and then we have DeSoto campus in South Haven, Mississippi, and then Oxford, Mississippi. And then we also have some little smaller ones in some other areas, but those are kind of the 3 biggest ones. And
So you're almost home.
Yes, absolutely.
You're just a few miles from the house now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I remember my time sitting in Robin Robinson's A&P class when I was a student at Northwest. And during that time when I was a student at Northwest, I also worked for the housing office.
Okay.
And there was a boss of mine that was named Matthew Domas. And I say was named. He is named. He is still here. He's not past tense. But anyway, he, I got to know him, obviously, being my boss, and I got to know Robin as my instructor. And so I said, you know what? Neither of these two probably know me. I said, they don't probably remember anything about me because that was, so long ago. Yeah. And so anyway, I said, you know what? I'm just going to take a chance, and I'm going to email Dr. Domas. He was Mr. Domas at that time, but he was working on his doctorate degree at Vanderbilt while I was there. Wow. And so he is now Dr. Domas, so that's why I refer to him as that now. But I emailed Dr. Domus and I told him my story. And he emailed me back and said, yes, absolutely, I remember you. He said, but, we don't have any openings right now. And he said,
so let me get my prayer team together.
Absolutely. So he said, but let me get you in touch with the head of the natural science department at Northwest. And I said, okay. And he said, do you know Robin Robison? And I said, do I know Robin Robison? I said, yes. I said, he was my A&P 1 and 2 teacher while I was there. And so I thought, well, I don't know. Robin probably doesn't remember me either. So, but sure enough, he had reached out to Robin and Robin called me and he said, we don't have opening. He said, but maybe you could, do an online class, see how you like it first, and then if we ever do have an opening, we'll let you know. Well, that was in the spring of 2015. Okay. And I taught a mini-term course, which is a fast-tracked 8-week course that semester. And I want you to know, by the end of May, there was a lady in the department that had resigned. Okay. And she had left, and there was a full-time position that came open.
It's like the Red Sea just parted.
Absolutely, just parted.
Yes.
And so, anyway, I was definitely not like a shoe-in or anything. I mean, there were other applicants that were applying and stuff.
It's already her job. She knows it. She knows that's her job.
Well, I still had to put in the time and do the presentation. And
she's got a prayer team.
That's right.
Yeah. And it's her job. It's got her name on it already. Yes.
And I want you to know I did. I got the job. And to make kind of a long story short as far as that goes, I did not realize until many years later that was where I was supposed to be the whole time at Northwest, teaching students anatomy and physiology. And it took me a long time to understand that spiritually, emotionally, everything like that, because although when I started at Northwest, I loved teaching and I loved, being able to even share about some of my experiences from my clinical rotations and the things that I learned in gross anatomy lab, dissecting a human cadaver and stuff like that. I still was so angry at God that I still didn't pass that board exam. So, God, why could I, if you wanted me to be a teacher, that's fine, but why couldn't I also be a physical therapist? Why couldn't I be a licensed physical therapist? And I struggled with that for quite some time. And, it was one of those things that it just kind of eats at you every day. And,
can I?
Absolutely, yeah.
As you're seeing some of these students come through, you may even think, I'll just say this, Melissa DeBar would think, you let that person into physical therapy school? And I, if this person can do it, why can't I do it?
Absolutely,
yeah. And
absolutely.
It's just hard. It's hard to overcome all that.
It is.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that in, during that time, I still had a lot of anger in my heart. I started to realize about in 2022, I guess, that, there might be something to all this. The Lord might have really had me in the palm of his hand.
He does have a plan.
Yes, he does have a plan. And he might have done pretty well, if I would have stopped stealing the pen the whole time. But I still just couldn't get over it.
I know.
And so I want you to know in 2023, in the summer.
We're 9 years down the road.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the summer, I got asked by a lady that used to be my kindergarten teacher at Magnolia Heights School in Senatobia, Mississippi. if she went to my church. We went to church together. She wanted to know if I wanted to go to this thing called a walk to Emmaus.
Okay.
And I said, well, I don't really know about this. And so I had heard a little bit about the walk to Emmaus, but it was one of those things where when the person asked me if I had ever heard of it before, I said, no, what is it? And they said, well, we can't tell you. And so I was like, okay, but I was told that by that person that it would be a life-changing experience probably for me. So Miss Mary Allison asked me if I wanted to go to the walk to Emmaus. And I was a little hesitant at first because there were no details that people could tell me. There was very little, if anything, that anybody could tell me. I didn't even know where I was going. I only knew basically when I was leaving, and that was it. And so, I got 2 kids at home. I've got, a husband, but something in me told me, this is your kindergarten teacher, Lindsay.
Trust.
Yes, trust.
Yes.
And so I said, okay. And she said, well, you're going to go in July.
Okay.
And so in July of 2023, I went to the walk to Emmaus.
Okay.
Now, I will have to tell you, there is some secrecy to it.
Oh, I know.
Okay. There is some secrecy to it.
You're so brave.
So I cannot share all of those details, but I will tell you.
We will respect the mystery
there
of it.
You go.
That's right.
But I will tell you that the person that initially talked to me about the walk to Emmaus was exactly right. It changed my life. And it did not change my life in a worldly way or anything. It changed it in a spiritual way. Because at the walk to Emmaus, I laid down all of those hurts and anger and, just all those terrible things.
The feelings.
Yes, that I thought about the Lord and what I'd gone through with PT school. I laid them at the foot of the cross and I said, no more. We're not dealing with that anymore.
I believe you.
And I want you to know.
I don't see that in her eyes. I don't see any hurt or anger. She's laid it down.
Yeah, it's not there. And I put it at the foot of the cross and I walked away and I said, never again. And I want you to know that I thought about that journey probably every day of my life.
Wow.
But since July of 2023, I have not thought about it at all in the way that I have explained it to you.
Okay.
I have thought about it in a way of just how good God is. Because I found out that God used me in physical therapy school. I want people hearing this to realize
I'm fixing to pick up my bell.
God,
I can feel this.
Yes.
This is coming. What is it?
God did not make a mistake.
No.
I was supposed to go to physical therapy school. That was where I was supposed to go.
Right.
But God had a different plan for me than to work in a clinic or work in a hospital, because He wanted me to take the knowledge that I learned from physical therapy school and show these kids and these young adults coming into my classroom just how amazing the human body is. And, I used to be very much afraid to share that story because I felt like a failure. And I thought, what would this person think? What would my students think of me if they knew that? But I want you to know, I freely tell that story.
That's wonderful.
That's
strength.
It is strength.
It is incredible
strength that would only come from God. And I can tell you, telling that story of me being a failure on a podcast to millions of listeners who will listen to this, never in a million years.
Yeah.
But that that's because of God.
For it to be celebrated, for other people to use, kind of like Genesis 50 and 20, what the enemy meant for evil, maybe not. But God had another plan.
That's right.
He sees beyond
That's right.
all of that. That how much, you were just thinking one physical therapist, but actually you get the fruit of all of the people that you're training. You're training untold numbers of people to be our future healthcare leaders.
That's right.
And that's incredible. And there's another connection between us right there.
Yeah.
My anatomy and physiology teacher was, in my mind, the smartest human being that ever, and he was the product of a failure in his early academic career, and he wanted to be a doctor.
Okay.
He wanted to be a cardiologist, and he didn't get through it for whatever family issues or whatever, and so he started teaching anatomy and physiology to nursing students and pharmacology and to pre-med majors, and was just an incredible inspiration to me.
That's right.
To so many, it's kind of like the thing about you see one apple, but yet how many seeds are in the apple, how many apple trees are in that apple,
Right,
untold.
exactly.
And that's how, same idea, but he was incredible. And also, I remember as a nursing student, I was told, why are you going to college? Why? But they're going to turn you into an atheist. But when you see God's creation, you see evidence, and I'm saying this from a legal perspective, you see great evidence of a creator. There's just no other explanation. You couldn't shake it up in a cup and throw the dice out and have. And the human body itself is just mind blowing. It is. The more I learned, the more I was convinced, that there is a God. There's God, the creator. And one of the things I loved about that professor is he was not allowed to talk directly about that, but he could talk to the side. He goes, notice this right here, So we had great conversations, and you're in a phenomenal position to impact more than one little, one physical therapist. We got a lot.
And I can tell you that, as I said, I never thought that I would come out on a podcast or anything like that and, freely talk about my failures. But I do that. And I want you to know that I have been, and even maybe my students, I guess I should more say, have been pleasantly surprised that their teacher is human. I remember some of my teachers from college and thinking, oh, they're brilliant. They could do no wrong. I mean, these were some great professors that I had, but
they're human.
They're human. They're human.
We've all got a story of how we got here.
That's right. And I believe that God allows me to be able to bring encouragement to my students, because maybe when they want to be a nurse, but they're not passing the tests, they're not doing the things that they need to do to, do better, I can still encourage them that not everybody has to be a nurse and not everybody has to be a physical therapist. But that's what's so beautiful about this world is that we all have our unique things that we bring to make this world go round.
That's right.
And, I think about just, how important, the lowest man on the totem pole is to the company, just like the head of the company is. And I believe that wholeheartedly. And so I think God has given me such a platform to share my story with my students and to be an encouragement to them. And like I said, it was just a phenomenal moment in my spiritual walk that God allowed me to go to the walk to Emmaus and to get to that point where I feel 100% in July of 2023 that I am resting in Him.
In Him.
And in the story that He penned for me. Now.
Okay. But that's a beautiful introduction.
It is.
It is beautiful.
It is. And that introduction, I think, has to be said because of where we're going just 6 months later.
Okay. Seasons.
Yes.
Things
Seasons
change.
of life. Yes.
Yeah.
My husband also had the privilege of going to the Walk to Emmaus in October of 2023. So I went in July, and then he went in October. And then December of 2023.
Okay.
I am laying down with my daughter one night, and I just had a T-shirt on, and we were laying in bed, and I got an itch, a little bit of an itch on the outside of my right breast.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, I went under my shirt to scratch it and not on the outside of my shirt, but I went under my shirt to scratch it. And I said, well, I've never felt that before.
Now, did you do breast self-examinations? Had you ever had a mammogram?
No.
Just had an itch?
Just had an itch.
All right.
And you have to understand, I was 36 years old.
Young.
Time. Yeah. And, 35, I guess, at that particular point. But anyway, obviously, breast cancer never even came to my mind. Never. I have no family history of breast cancer. My mother has had some fibroadenomas, which are benign little tumors, and she's had quite a few of those. And so that night, I do my Google research, right? That's what we do. That's the worst thing to do, right? But we do our Google research when something like an ailment comes up.
Warning.
Yes.
Paranoia will destroy you.
But I want you to know that I looked up all the things that were characteristics of a cancerous tumor, like being hard like a lemon seed, being, stationary and not movable, and, those kind of things. And I had none of those.
And it's also important that you have all the terminologies and you understand the anatomy and physiology. You have a full functioning understanding of health and unhealthy tissues, and so still you're not really picking up on this just yet.
And, I'm looking at reputable research here. I'm not going to like Wikipedia or Yahoo Answers or
Medical or something.
Right. I'm looking at reputable research here that's telling me that this is the way cancerous tumors typically feel.
Okay.
And mine was movable.
Yeah.
It was squishy. And so anyway, I went the next morning and went to my parents' house, and I wanted to show my mom because, again, she had these fibroadenomas.
She's on the team now. This is somebody we trust.
That's right.
She's on the prayer team, and she's had a little experience with some abnormality issues in the breast tissue.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I thought, well, she can feel this and see if this feels like what she has felt with the fibroadenomas. And she felt it, and she said, that's not how mine have ever felt.
Okay.
And so when I left out that morning, my dad looked at me and said, you go get that looked at. And I remember that very clearly because it was, it was something about a female part of your body. Your dad didn't typically chime in on things like that, but he did chime in on that and said, you go get that looked at. And so we could have a whole nother podcast talking about insurance stuff.
Oh, gosh, okay.
But because of my age, I had to go get, my oncologist to, to look at it and give me a referral
delay,
to be able to have a diagnostic mammogram done.
Okay.
And so I went to my gynecologist who helped me through both of my pregnancies, that to this day I would trust another pregnancy to him and anything else that I had going on. But he felt it, and he said, I think it's a fibroadenoma. And he felt for other areas of my body around my clavicle bone, my collarbone.
The lymph node areas.
Yeah, and under my arm and stuff like that. And he said, I don't feel any lymph nodes. But he said, we'll go get it checked out anyway. So I left there with a referral to Baptist to get that diagnostic mammogram. And, some of my family was a little worried about it. And I was like, guys, my doctor said he thought it was fine. He didn't feel any lymph nodes. Mama's had all these fibroadenomas.
He's right.
Yeah. She had all these fibroadenomas. It's not a big deal. We're going to go get it checked out and it's fine. So I did. I went by myself because I thought, never thinking I would get the answer that I did, obviously.
Did you get the answer that day?
I did.
Okay, so I don't know. We don't have a bell to ring here, but this is like a warning thing. Don't go to important meetings by yourself.
Don't do it.
Do not go to important meetings by yourself. You need an extra set of ears. You need somebody to go get Kleenexes to drive you home.
That's right.
I even say in my office, bring another set of ears to hear what I'm fixing to say to you.
That's right.
We don't go to the important meetings by ourselves.
That's right.
All right. So what happened?
So I went in and I had the full diagnostic mammogram, the ultrasound, all that kind of stuff. And, nothing really screamed at me as, I felt like anybody was like super, super concerned. But it hit me finally that I think something's wrong when I had already had the mammogram part done. And then I was at the ultrasound and the ultrasound lady did the ultrasound under my arm and on my collarbone and, on my right breast. And I remember her saying, okay, I'm going to go let the doctor look at these and I'll be right back. And she said it very much like that. And I was like, okay. So, she left and came back. And it was the moment that she came back and she said, all right, I think we're going to get a few more images. And that's when I knew something wasn't right. You don't get more images if something is fine. And so she got more images and they took me to Dr. Gayden's office, Evelyn Gayden, at Baptist. And I went into her office and she had all these, big computers set up looking at, everything that was coming through of all these mammograms and ultrasounds that people were getting in the office that day. And I sat down in a seat in her office and she said, how are you doing? And I said, I'm good. And she said, okay. She said, what do you do for a living? And I said, I'm an instructor at a college. And she said, okay. And she said, do you have any kids? And I said, yeah, I've got 2 kids. And she said, okay. She said, well, it's very nice to meet you. She said, I think we're just going to maybe get a biopsy and let's just check on it and just make sure.
Okay.
And that was kind of where she stopped. And I said, okay. I said, now, what are your thoughts here? And she looked at me and with a puff of wind, you could have blew me over. She said, I think you have cancer.
Ugh.
And I just remember, I looked at her and I said, what? I said, are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
And I just, obviously emotions got the best of me at that moment. And
even now, kind of knowing your story, some.
Yeah.
But even that, I feel blown away.
Yeah.
Even you saying that.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
It was
being there and experiencing it.
Yeah.
Even with a friend. I think we'd probably have to have 2 or 3 drivers or something.
I mean, I would have lost my house and home if you would have told me that, I was going to go up there and get a cancer diagnosis that day. And so I was incredibly, incredibly thankful because when I went into the nurse navigator's office, when I walked in, I sat down and she was kind of going over with me, okay, these are the kind of next steps that we need to go through. And I remember thinking, okay, we're going to get through this and it's going to be fine and it's not that bad. And then she said, we're going to have to get some biopsies.
Okay.
And actually, I think we're going to go ahead and get them today.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. And so at that moment, I said, I think I'm going to have a minute because at some point I'm going to have to let my family know what's going on because I'm going to be here a lot longer than what I anticipated.
Children and
they know I'm coming up here for this appointment, and I can't just show up at 7:00 at night.
Yeah.
And so I said, I think I'm going to have a minute. And so she walked out, and I just remember sitting there thinking, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Who am I going to call first, And
you didn't have those things planned out.
Right.
You didn't get that far down the road.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then I looked up at her wall, and there was a picture on her wall that was a framed chalkboard, basically. Okay. It had this really pretty frame around this chalkboard. And the nurse navigator had written out a Bible verse from Isaiah. And that Bible verse talked about how do not fear, and that I'm going to be with you. And I'm going to, hold you with my righteous right hand. And it was at that moment I actually pulled my phone out and took a picture of that. And I'm so incredibly glad I did because that photo, I feel every bit of the moment of when I took that photo.
Yeah.
Because it was at that moment when I realized that God's going to get me through this. It's a touchstone. It's a testament. It is. He knew what I was feeling in those moments, and he knew that I needed assurance that he was with me like he was through PT school. That's right. And so I have that picture and I keep it with me, and I actually have it blown up on a canvas and in my house and because it means so much to me. So I'll be honest with you, and this probably wasn't the thing I should have done, I guess. I don't know, as a married woman, but the first thing I did was I called my daddy.
Oh,
I did. It'll make me cry thinking about it, but the first thing I did was I called my daddy. And, of course, he knew that I was going to that appointment. And he answered the phone, and I said, "Hey, Daddy." And he said, "Hey." And he said, "Do you know anything yet?" And I just started crying, and I said, "Daddy, I've got cancer." And I remember he said...
Don't make both of us cry.
Yeah. I remember he said, "Oh, baby, no."
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, it was just, almost kind of a blur from that point forward,
Right.
everything.
Right.
He called my mother. He called Mama and told her. I called my husband, probably, as a married woman, probably should have called my husband first, but I'm a daddy's girl. And I called my daddy first.
It's okay.
And so anyway, at that time, I told him, I said, they're doing the biopsies here.
There's not a wrong thing to do in this situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said, they're doing the biopsies in just a minute.
Yeah.
And so they all came up there.
Yeah.
Well, my husband's aunt is named Carol Massie.
Okay.
And I hit the jackpot with in-laws
Wow.
and my husband's side of the family.
Well, she's already got a jackpot family, but wow, to be doubly blessed like that.
Yes, to be doubly blessed. And my mother-in-law and father-in-law and brother-in-law and sister-in-law and niece and then my husband's aunt, my Aunt Carol, are just my world, just like my parents and my brother and nephew and sister-in-law and all that are. Yeah. They are my world. And so Cole's aunt is a nurse.
Okay.
So she came up there. And then my mom and my dad came up there. Cole wasn't able to come because somebody had to pick up the kids.
Right.
So Cole is my husband. And so anyway, I had the biopsies done. And I did not realize it, I guess, at the time. And, no fault to him. I don't blame him for anything. But I obviously did have cancer, and I had a huge lymph node that was swollen under my arm. And, I didn't know it from fat, honestly. And, at that time, I was 34 years old. So, 35 years old, I guess. And, I just didn't doing breast exams and things like that was just not on my priority list, and especially because, one of the things that I think in America we've got to be very careful about.
Oh, yeah, we are talking about America.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm just hanging here with the story. This is supposed to be about America and American fight stories.
The thing that I think we have to be careful with in America, because I kind of fell victim to this.
Okay.
I didn't think that I was supposed to even worry about cancer until 40.
Misinformation. Yeah.
Well, that's what the data tells us.
Yeah.
That's what the research shows, is that we get mammograms starting at 40 unless you have a problem or you have a family history
and
or
all
something
you had at
like
that point was an itch.
I just had an itch.
And she didn't have any swollen lymph nodes. She had an itch. So you were very proactive on every bit of that.
And no family history. So, I wasn't thinking about breast cancer until 40, or at least, entertaining the idea of getting a mammogram and all that done. And so anyway, but sure enough, I had cancer. And everything.
Gosh, she's smiling right now.
Well, you can do that now when you look back on things. But it was a very rough time to be diagnosed with cancer the week before Christmas because healthcare kind of stops.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Healthcare kind of stops for the holidays at that point.
That's true.
And so
vacations and all that.
I get through Christmas, somehow. I don't know. I just didn't even think about it. But I got through Christmas. And of course, I say when I got through Christmas, my whole family got through Christmas that year somehow. And then you have New Year's and stuff like that. And so it wasn't until about, a couple of weeks into January before we really started rolling again with doing stuff, And of course, the whole time I'm thinking, it's growing,
Stop.
And yes. And when reality, it's probably not growing that fast over a couple of weeks. But anyway, so I had a meeting with an oncologist. Okay. His name is Dr. Drew Deal.
You're like, I can't even believe I'm here.
Yes, yes. So I had a meeting with Dr. Drew Deal, and he is my wonderful oncologist at Baptist. And he, started telling me about needing a PET scan done and all this blood work and all this kind of stuff. And then, I was fine pretty much, until he said, and oh yeah, you're going to lose your hair.
Uh-oh.
And there's something about it when he said that, I was just like, oh, this is real.
Yeah.
I'm going to lose my hair. And, it's just everything about cancer changes a person, I gained weight.
I don't know, but I only know vicariously. Yes.
I gained weight with cancer and treatments. Your skin changes, your hair falls out, your eyelashes fall out, your eyebrows fall out. Just your taste buds change. It's just so many things that happen. Yes, it is.
You couldn't base your who you are based on your appearance.
Right.
That would definitely change. A lot of younger people are struggling with self-image based on what looks good. How pretty am I? What I look like on the outside.
Yeah.
And then to go through something like this, it's a horrific trauma on self-image.
Yeah, yeah. And so then I left Dr. Deal's office and went to my breast surgeon. Okay. And my breast surgeon is Dr. Alyssa Throckmorton, and she is also a godsend. And
she got the dream team coming together.
Man, I tell you,
she got the prayer team. She got the dream team.
I tell you, my
superheroes. Aren't you glad somebody taught them anatomy and physiology?
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, and I want you to know, kind of as a little bit of a side note to this, I want you to know that there was a student of mine who actually was working in one of the offices that I would have to go to. Yeah. And she would take my blood pressure and take my different vitals, and she would draw my blood and stuff like that. And I actually also had as a total different side note, had a student that actually helped deliver my baby.
Wow.
And so that's a little weird. But my point is you're right. You do train up these students in such a way that, you hope that they're successful in nursing school or in whatever they do. Yeah. And then you might end up running into them at some point in your life, and then they end up taking care of you. So
God knew exactly what he was doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
I ended up having 16 rounds of chemotherapy.
Wow.
16 rounds of chemotherapy. I ended up having a double mastectomy. I had 4 lymph nodes removed. And then I had 33 rounds of radiation.
And she's still here.
And I'm still here.
Still kicking.
I'm still here.
Still fighting.
That's right.
Still fighting.
And
with a smile on her face.
That's right.
With the light of Jesus in her eyes.
And that is what I want your listeners to really understand through all of this. I am not always good at seeing God's hand in everything in the midst of the situation. But looking back on it, I see God's hand everywhere.
Yeah.
Starting off with a walk to Emmaus. I wholeheartedly believe, Melissa, that God knew what was coming in December of 2023. He knew what was coming. And he knew that I needed to get the PT situation under wraps.
Right.
Because he knew what I would be going through. As I said, my husband went to the Walk to Emmaus too. I believe that he got my husband right as well in the ways that he needed to get right with him, because he knew what we were about to face in this storm. And so looking back, I see God's hand in so many things, and how, that chalkboard with that Bible verse from Isaiah was right there. And, I looked at it and realized at that moment that that was the Lord speaking to me and telling me it's going to be okay, know? And so, it was hard. That 2024 was an incredibly difficult year, just incredibly difficult. My dad had gotten sick. And, I was going through treatments too. I also lost a best friend.
Wow.
It was incredibly difficult.
Painful.
It was very, very hard. And so 2024 is a year that taught me resilience. It taught me to lean on the Lord more than you ever think humanly possible. And that's what I tried to do.
Wow.
Now, kind of where I am at today.
Okay. I love the way she just naturally tells the story. A lot of times when people tell me stories, it's like a wad of Christmas lights. But she tells her story so expertly.
Well, I appreciate
it flows the way that it needs.
Well, when I can't talk, I just had
it's beautiful.
But
Thank you.
I will say that through all of my treatments, with Dr. Deal, with my chemo, with, Dr. Throckmorton and my double mastectomy, and then Dr. Gandor at Baptist with my radiation, I have not been technically told that I'm cancer-free.
Okay.
But all of my recent images that I have had and blood work looks good.
Good.
So that is a really good thing. The biggest thing about cancer, and in particular breast cancer, and because that's really all that I can speak on, I thought it would be you get cancer, you go through, chemo, radiation, surgery, and then you were done.
Yeah.
That could not be farther from the truth. I loved people doing such wonderful, sweet things for my kids.
Wow.
And, my husband and me, my church, First Baptist Church in Senatobia, Mississippi, was just a godsend. My Sunday school class, every Thursday when I would have chemo, I would come home to each one of the girls in the class would have a Thursday, and they would have at my door when I came home a gift for me and a gift for my kids.
Wow.
People were bringing food and stuff like that. And I loved people so much for doing that.
I'm going to ring the bell on being a faithful member of a church to support you during difficult times.
Absolutely.
A spiritual support team.
Absolutely. Yeah. That people were being the hands and feet of Christ. And I never realized that, bringing food or sending a card could be so impactful on a person. But I think sometimes when you're not in the cancer world, I think people think, all right, well, you got a clean scan. So you're done. No. And then you go on about your life. And that's just not it. It's not it. And, you have to think there are a lot of different types of breast cancer out there. My particular type of cancer is hormone-sensitive. Okay. So with that being said, estrogen is kind of like candy that feeds a baby, when it comes to growing my cancer. So, you're looking at now, just turned 38-year-old that is in chemically induced menopause.
Right.
And, your hair, like I said, everything comes back in and it's just not who you were in December of 2023, Everything is just totally different. And then, I'm still on oral chemo. I'm in a breast cancer research trial. There's shots that I have to take.
The research.
Right.
Using what's happened to you to better the outcome of another woman.
Others, yes.
Or
absolutely.
Man, woman or man.
So there's so much that goes along with breast cancer even after the active treatment is done. And so I would encourage people, and I'm very thankful that people still love on me, they didn't stop, but I have been more aware of continuing to love on people even after they get a clear scan. Small acts of kindness. That's right.
You may not have, I wanted to ask you, what did you need people to say? I mean, what can you say? And you could probably write some things, but what do you say? But people were actually saying things with gifts, and they were. What can you say?
That's right.
But they were saying the best that they could, that they loved you.
That's right.
And not only that, they loved your children.
That's right.
And just, some of the fears were reassured that my children are loved.
That's right.
And loving you by loving your children.
That's right.
Oh,
that's right.
That's a good thing right there about showing love to people by loving their children.
Absolutely.
Knowing that their children are going to be okay no matter what.
And that was one of the biggest things for me is I didn't want my kids to even know that I was going
Shield
through any
them from it.
Cancer treatments.
Are you okay, Mama? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine.
I'm okay.
And people did rally behind me and my family and help us so much. And there are not enough thank yous or, letters that I could write or anything to tell people how much I appreciate them for all that they did for me and my family. But
you're the letter.
Well,
you're the letter. You're the living epistle. I see you on Facebook doing your devotion sometimes, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah. Wow. Hey, listen,
I'm in awe. I'm in the fan club, okay? I promise you. I'm in the fan club.
Let me tell you
something.
But
I love it because you're just fighting. I don't think you'd be doing that if you didn't have that fight. And so I love that. That's why I ask you to be on here. It's because I love that.
There's a lady that I work with who is a very strong Christian. And when something like what you just said, comes out, she'll say, but God.
But God. It's the only reason.
That's it. But God.
Miss Lorraine Katie, she says, God will do it. If you'll let him.
Yeah, that's right.
If you'll let him.
If you let him. If you stop trying to steal the pen.
If you'll let God be God, if you'll give God the broken pieces.
Absolutely.
He can fix it.
Absolutely.
And I love, you're a huge testament to spiritual care. You know, huge. Because cancer's horrible, but your spiritual care was excellent. Absolutely. You're in great spiritual health at that time.
It's amazing to me to sit back and look at all of the pieces that God was putting together right before my eyes. I just didn't notice it. I didn't see it, you know.
But you're worth it.
But
He adores you.
That's right.
And you've got good seed, I'd say seed in the ground. You've got faith seeds in your life, your family's life, and you're reaping a harvest of some of the things that you've done. You know?
And, you know, even, you know, kind of besides the spiritual part of it, cancer has given me a platform to be able to talk to young people about breast, you know, exams and how, you know, knowing those signs and symptoms and stuff like that. And knowing that when, you know, you don't have to be 40 for this to come on.
Don't wait till 40.
Don't wait till 40, even if you don't have a family history.
Well, even, you know, like your mom was giving you messages. You were circulating in circles to, you know, talk to people. What is this? What is that? So it may not, the information that you're giving out may not be for that person, but it may be for their circle of influence.
That's right.
You know.
That's right. Yeah. So it has been a journey. I went to my oncologist this past Monday, and we were talking about this, and we were talking about the fact that breast cancer, and not all cases, but in many cases, is very long and drawn out. And, you know, he was saying it really is. He said that, and, you know, colon cancer, especially if you have to have, you know, surgery and reversals and stuff done. He said that can kind of be long and drawn out, but he said definitely breast cancer in many ways can be long and drawn out. I mean,
my grandmother in the 70s and 80s lived 10 years. Yeah, 10 years, which was huge back then.
Right.
But that's also helped prepare me to be a fighter because I prayed. I didn't know what else to do but pray, but I prayed. You know, she told me to stop praying. She called me to stop praying. She was tired. But she.
Well, I'm so incredibly thankful too for the advancements that have been made in not just breast cancer, but healthcare in general. My grandfather, my dad's dad, had small cell lung cancer.
Okay.
And as a child, I remember him being very sick, and I remember him going through chemo and being very, you know, sick all the time. And I remember, you know, his feet getting sores on him from them having to take blood sometimes from his feet. And, you know, it was, when I got diagnosed with cancer, that's immediately what I thought.
That was your reference.
Yes, that was my reference.
I don't want that to happen to me. And
exactly. And so, you know, my doctors, they gave me medication in case those things obviously happened. But even the pre-meds that I would get prior to actually getting the chemo, that in and of itself has come so far because it was only one time out of 16 treatments for chemo that I actually got sick.
Wow.
And so, I mean, those are things that, you know, just have come so far. And I did not have the exact same experience as my papa did. But that was back in 98 when he passed away. So, you know, it just shows you how far,
Wow.
that we have come. And even being in a research trial, I am so honored to be able to, do something like this, to be able to hopefully advance the care of breast cancer for future generations, and even my daughter, maybe,
your granddaughter,
my granddaughter, anybody. And, so I'm very thankful, to be where I am. And, it is quite a long story, I guess you could say, but it is one that I'm very proud of now. I never thought that I would really ever say that I was proud of failing the board exams and all that stuff. But I want you to know, I keep in my Bible, every one of my NPTE examination printout scores. I keep them.
Do you laugh at them?
I do with the pictures because, you have to go in and take a picture and stuff like that at the proctoring center. And I look and I'm like, oh man, I could see the worry on my face, and look how I looked then. And, but I keep those in my Bible, and I look at them often and think, that was a part of my story, and cancer is a part of my story.
That's right.
And, I don't know, what God has planned for the rest of my life. I don't know if it will include cancer again in any way. That worries me, I'll be honest. But it's
honesty's wonderful.
Absolutely.
It should worry you. I mean,
it does.
It should, not consuming.
That's right.
Worry, but yes,
that's right.
Being honest.
That's right.
With people.
That's right.
I don't know that I'd trust you if you said you didn't worry a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so anyway, it's been a journey, and there are things that I worry about, but I feel so confident in what my faith is grounded in now than it ever has been.
It's wonderful.
And I'm so thankful that God gave me many, 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 many chances to mess up and still be on his team.
That's right. That's right.
And so, it's great. It's great.
Well, Lindsay, I am thankful that I saw strength in you and saw an American fight story.
That's right.
Worth telling. And I'm thankful that you fought the fight and that you continue to fight.
That's right.
A fight of faith and a fight for people that you love. And I am very, very thankful. I'm going to do the prayer first. Do you want to pray or do you want me to pray?
You can do it. That's fine.
I thank you, Lord, for this day. I thank you just for this hour that we're able to come together and speak openly and freely and testify a little bit, tell about the excellence of things that you're doing and this beautiful testimony that Lindsay has told. Thank you for this family of faith. Thank you that you have been seen in all of this situations that she's discussed, and that you are real to her, and that you're a great father. You're faithful and good. And I ask, Lord, that this story would, this fight story would encourage and just activate faith in other people that may be other women or men that may be struggling with breast cancer or any kind of health issues, but also fighting failures and where do I go next and looking for a sense of direction. Lord, we thank you that you give us your word that we can stand on, and we thank you for health professionals, teachers, all of the incredible opportunities and gifts that we have in America to fight for health and to fight for faith. I thank you for Lindsay. I ask that you put a special hedge of protection on her, her family, her health. Ask, Lord, that you would continue to be Jehovah Rapha, the God that heals, and that you would be with her and her health teams, her faith teams, and her support that's all around her. We thank you for your love and your word and the blood of Jesus. Bless her. Bless our country. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. And to finish off, you can find this American Fight Stories with DeBar on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. You can rate, subscribe, and review. And again, thank you for being on American Fight Stories.
Thank you so much for having me.